Hoqoqnattiit uaptingnut
Why do we preserve the skins and meat of seal?
aminnullunni niqainnulluunni.
Since time started, seal has always been our meat, like it's the only thing they really had. Yeah, staple, the basic staple food. They also hunted seal meat for their dog food. At the time, they had only dogs for transportation. Also, the fur at the time we had used for profits for our staples, for our foods like flour and tea and stuff like that. We never threw any part of any seal. We used every piece of the seal meat except the gallbladder, the acid in the gallbladder. We used it all. We made dry meat. We made fermented flippers, fermented oil to use to eat with for dry meat nor other stuff that they used. Long ago they had everything with seal meat. Ways we use it is by boiling it. We ferment the flippers, we make dry meat, we make fermented oil. We use the fur for clothing, for shoes, for mitts, and also they break the intestines and dry those as well. That we have different types of seals, like the seals that are rotting in the fall. People also get them too, but they have a strong taste that people don't really eat it. But young seal, you'll never ever give it up. Stink seals you can't really eat, seals that are rotting. And then there's the young seals are the ones that can never be given up, no matter how they're cooked, whether they're hot or cold. When you spot a dark head, it's a big seal, and that's a seal that's rotting. When you were young, what kind of modes of transportation did they use for hunting seals at the time? When I was young, my dad used to go out and do seal hooks, put out seal hooks, and also go sealing in the holes. They would train a dog to sniff out the seal holes. And the way they did that was they took the part of a lip of a seal, and let the dog smell it, and then leave it near certain holes. And the way they trained a dog to sniff, they made the dog smell the piece of meat. They would put it on a leash, and they would make the sounds he was just making, and take him from hole to hole, and as they're getting close to a hole, he would start making noise. So the dog could start trying to find it faster. They would make the dog dig into the snow, the icy snow, where they had buried the piece of seal meat. And if the dog smells it and sniffs it out and digs it out and eats it, he tells, or I don't know, he shows him, or he tells him to go look again, I guess, but that's how he finds the meat. And for the next hole, they never put the meat. They just make the dog sniff it because he could smell it now because he ate it. So now he could smell that other seal hole without having to put a piece of meat there. When he has a dog trained, he doesn't have to keep it on a leash no more. He just let it run. He just let it go sniff out the other holes as he's looking himself for a hole. The dog will be running around looking for another hole. They only used spears, but when he started waking up like to his dad hunting, his dad was already using seal hooks through the holes in the ice. They were already using those, so he didn't get to see the ones with the harpoon. The way they made the seal hooks long ago, the racks on our stoves, on our two-burner camping stoves, those racks, they would take them apart. They would fix them. They would fix them kind of flat and bend them over. And then when they bend them over, they put a little barb as well, so that the seal doesn't come out when it's hooked. When David goes hunting, if there's no seal holes to be found, if there's no white cracks in the ocean, he looks for little cracks where there might be he might be able to put a seal hook in. If he can't find anything else, because that's all he feeds his dogs, is seal meat. And they also have ways of finding out if there's a old seal, because you can smell the old seal. But if it's a female, you cannot smell it. When they find the seal hole, there's also a stick, like a walking stick, except it has a metal blade and a wooden handle or a horn handle, and they use that to test the snow. When they put that unak, they call it, into the seal hole, when they find it, that's what they use to make sure that they have the seal hole in the center. The way they put a seal hook in where it's bending, because they put 3 prongs on one, and where one of the prongs where it's bending, they have a rope at the top of where they're all put together, the hanger, and then they have a rope from around this area to the end of their elbow, and that's how long and how deep it should be from above the snow into the hole, no deeper. The part that gets hooked is either the flipper or the big part of the seal, around the diameter, the big part. If that catches, then he got the seal. He had taught how to do seal hooks at one point, and he was taught prior to that the length of the rope has to be no higher than the elbow. That was the way that they used to hunt their seals. What is the difference in hunting either in the spring or in the winter? In the springtime, the seals are out on the ice. They just sneak to the seals and get them, shoot at them. And in the summer, they use boats. There are 2 types of seals that most people hunt. There are small ones and there are large ones. The small ones are called Ulukhaqtuuq, meaning they're small, and they're down more towards Prince Albert Sound. And the large seals are more toward Minto Inlet area Sound. The reason why they were hunting seals, the reason why they hunt seals in Minto Inlet area is for their dog food, because the seals are big and they can preserve them. And the small seals are what people more or less eat. When people from other areas come around, from other camps come around. They would, mainly from the mainland, they would be trading seal meat with caribou meat or what, fish or other food they want to trade with. And that's what he's just talking about right here. They trade for other things that they need, and the reason why they trade is so that these other people can have the seal meat as well as the seal fat for their heat. There's two different types of ways of hunting seals. In the springtime, they use their dogs. They use dog teams in the springtime, and in the summertime, they use boats. I was asking him about uses of the ways they used to harvest, like what kind of rifles did they have, what kind of harpoons, or did they use harpoons at the time, or when he started, or when he realized, like start waking up like a young kid, they were using rifles already. Yeah. Long ago, they had used the harpoon to hunt seals, and now they're using the rifles. And now with the uses of rifles, nobody seems to be having it as hard as they used to, because now they can get so many for their own use as well as for trading and the skins. When he started hunting seals, like what was the cost of seal skin back then more now than it is today? With more people using rifles, we are now getting more seals than we used to. But back in the 70s, when we were learning, we find out that we can get whatever amount of seals because we need to use it for our dogs as well as food, as well as for the blubber to be used as heat. Long ago, when people first started getting rifles, there was a camp on an island, and they thought they had harvested enough seals for this summer. And as time went on, they ran out of food and they all perished. There was one from that group of people that perished. There was a lady and her daughter that survived, and they went on a boat. I don't know what kind of boat, maybe a kayak boat probably. And they were out in the ocean. They drifted to Ulukhaqtuuq, in the island, and they got a bull caribou there. The people that have perished on that island, they used only naulaks, they used only harpoons at the time, and that is how they perished, because they didn't get enough food in the springtime, I guess, to bury it and whatever, or dry it, however they need to use it. They didn't get enough. But now, today, when people go out hunting, no one seems to be having hard times anymore to catch a seal. In our time, when we were young, we never do the things our parents did. We never preserve food. We never find ways to dry it. We never find ways to use it anyway. We never use it we never worked with it. We never tried to learn to work with it. And a lot of it has been lost. And this is where I was asking him how we could preserve or we should have tried to preserve, but we didn't know any better. I asked them what was the cost like for the seals. Was it higher than it is today? Long ago, the cost of everything was very cheap. So the cost of the sealskin pelts were cheap. And he remembered Billy Joss buying or trading skins with whatever dry goods or whatever he had at his store. Long ago, how pelts were purchased, whether it was a fox skin or a seal skin, they did not use money, but they had markers, like so many markers per pelt, and the parents or whoever buying or trading for the pelts to stuff like flour, sugar, tea, coffee, biscuits, whatever else they might need for their supplies for the winter. Back when they used to trade, it was always like a fair trade. And as time went on, we started selling seal pelts, and the pelts were being bought at $10 a piece, and that had seemed like a lot of money because they were first started buying them at $10. As time went on back then, the pelts for the prices of a sealskin went up to like $35 a pelt, and it felt like a lot of money. But then at the same time, everything else was getting pricey. For gas, 5 gallons of gas was $5 back then. And what he was referring to, I guess, might have been, he didn't say anything as to what time, maybe today, I don't. But at the time he said back then it was $5 or $1 a gallon. 1970. Back in the 70s, Tom Smith started sampling seals, and they were sampling the lower jaw of the seals. Back in the 80s, one summer, there was a lot of young seals, and when they dried their seals, they pecked them to the ground. And here's at the place where the ladies usually peck the pelts to dry. There was no more room whatsoever to do anymore because there's gravel all over the place too. So they just had no place to dry seal skin. Long ago when they hunt seals, they had to go while it's nice weather, and they used whatever nice weather they can. Sometimes they go without sleep for 3 days or whatever, just on the go. And his dad had told him at one time, when it gets windy and you can't go anywhere, you can rest. And like our motors were small back then. We had small motors, and we also had small rifles like the 22, and so the sounds were never loud, so our animals never ran away. With the sampling that they are doing nowadays, like long ago at Tom Smith's time, it was like $2 for sampling. And now it's like $50 for the sampling. And they have OHTC that does the sampling as well as FGMC. And the pelt of the skin is like 95, so one seal can come up to almost $200. Nowadays, a lot of our young people do not hunt because they do not have dog teams to feed. So young people nowadays rarely go seal hunting. Not like long ago, whereas our parents had to hunt all the time. And also the people that used to do the flushing and the skinning have not passed on that trait to a lot of their children. So now a lot of young people don't know how to do these. They don't know how to flush a skin. They don't know how to skin a seal skin. This spring, I had taken out some students and we got some seals and we would teach them how to prepare the seal meat and to cut the seal skin, how to flush the seal skin, and also the meat. All the meat was passed on to all the elders and those that cannot hunt for themselves. And now with the prices of the boat, the kicker, the skidoos, Hondas, everything, for each item is almost close to 20,000 in cost to purchase. Nowadays, people have it really hard. They have no jobs and no means of getting any transportation to do any hunting. And also with all the things that do happen in their lives nowadays, with all things like alcohol, drugs, whatever, all that had overtaken a person's well-being, I guess. And that is why they are having a hard time. They don't know how else to move forward in life because they have no way of getting out, no transportation, no nothing. The hard time is here for a lot of our young people because they do not really understand. Maybe because of school, I don't know. Maybe because they never got a chance to learn. Nowadays, times are really hard for families, for spouses, for children. They're having a hard time with everything, prices of everything going up and having no other means of income coming in. And that is why it is really hard nowadays. And our parents, our family, our grandparents used to tell us that one day cash will never be used again. I don't know how they knew that back then, but they had said cash will never be used again one day except for plastic. The places where they used to hunt seals, like they'd be hunting seals in one area throughout the time they're there. And now today, the way they hunt seals is different from, because back then they had to be at their camp to hunt, right? To be out on the ice. And now they're in a settlement where only one person goes. And he said that those days, those times are changed. He said, we'll never get them back. Now with times changing, climate change, our seasons are longer. Our spring seasons are longer. Our summer seasons are longer. And it takes a long time for us to get our ice now. The ocean has warmed up. His times have really changed. In the springtime, it takes a lot longer for spring to thaw. And over the summer, fall is taking a longer time to come than back then. And when we fillet our fish or when we clean our seal skins and we're taking the soap out of them out in the ocean, the water is not cold as it used to be, even when we wash our fish. At one point we had the ice house, and the ice house was not freezing anymore over the winter, and water was coming up from the ground, and that water that was coming up from the ground was salty. And also by the ponds, the niggerhead, those little niggerheads used to be really tiny. Now they're just sticking right up. We're talking about ice coming up. Now they know that the ice, the permafrost under the land is cracked, and in most rivers now you can't. Where you used to have to look for a place to cross is now dry. What he's saying is that the permafrost under the land had cracked, and that's where the water's seeping into the ground. Instead of flowing, it's going into the ground. And now when they sample the ice in the winter, it does not get thick anymore. Long ago, it used to be as thick as 6 to 7 feet. And now when they check it, the depth of the ice in the ocean is around 4 feet. It's not freezing the way it used to freeze. Climate change is now a big issue with us not getting as cold as we used to. And down south is starting to get a lot of snow where we used to never hear of snow. What our ancestors had said was, when times are changing, even our animals will be changing. They will not be scared anymore to approach, like maybe approach the community. Whereas before, you could walk on the land and they'll just, as soon as they see you, they're gone. But now today, they're attacking. It's different. Long ago, our ancestors, our parents, our family used to tell us that when times change for us is our animals will be around like for 30 years, and after 30 years they move on to a different grazing area, and only a few stragglers, whatever, might be around for a few years. But the rest move on every so many years, and so that's why people say that there's certain animals are now extinct or whatever. Our caribou are now returning. We are now starting to get caribou on close by again. And the reason for that, again, is climate change, because our oceans do not freeze early enough for the migration for the caribou to go on to the mainland. So now they're hanging around on the island because they can't make it to the mainland. No ice or not enough ice back. Like by the time they're migrating back to mainland. Like in the springtime, caribou migrate to the north, and so they go through the ice from the mainland, walk over the ice from the mainland to our island, and there for the spring, the summer, they migrate down toward the end of Victoria Island. Then in the fall time, like about this time, they start heading back toward mainland area, but they will not cross because there's no ice. And that is why our caribou is now multiplying. Now, when we travel in the winter time down toward the end of Victoria Island, to the north end of Victoria Island, you can see a lot of female caribou now with young. Whereas before, you couldn't really find any caribou for years and years and years. And now they can't go back to mainland in the fall time, but they're multiplying in the springtime. So now they're starting to grow again. And they want to make sure that the caribou is well looked after. As of April 15, no one is allowed to kill a caribou. July 15, you can start hunting caribou again until April 15.
Hakoana.
I was saying thank you to him for talking to us because a lot of these words we had used today were never used for years. Like you never hear people using words like nohak and stuff like that because they don't know what those are. They don't know what they are anymore. So I was just thanking him for all that because it was good to hear it and knowing that other people will actually hear it too. So I was happy. If we don't get ice anymore, if the ice don't form anymore, will the seals go with the ice or will there be no more seals? If the ice does not form anymore, we will not have any more seals because the seals need to live on the ice for birthing as well as for feeding. And if there's no ice, they can give birth on the land, but babies may not live because there's all kinds of other animals on the land. So they will not be any safer. And also with the polar bear, they will not have any place to hunt but except on the land. In the fall time when we go fish lake to do our fishing, it is not as much snow as it used to be. And also another thing, with the ice not freezing early anymore, it's like 2 months behind. We used to go down to Fish Lake for char in September. Now they don't usually go till November. Quite the change in just a few years. People using Hondas a lot longer now than they did back then. With they're using Hondas for traveling. They're still using Hondas for traveling in the fall when they used to be using skidoos. Well, with the spring now, we have a long springs, and in the fall it takes a long time for us to get our ice now. So now I asked him, how is it for the seals when it takes a long time to freeze? And in the winter time when we hunt a polar bear, they do not like to, or they like to look where it's rough ice with little ice anyway piled up. Little icebergs, whatever you want to call them, little chunks. And if there's none of those around, then you will not see no polar bear tracks on the ice because it's too flat. There's no place for a seal to have a den because they have their dens where there's icebergs. There are different types of ice, like ice textures. When it is rough and funny looking ice, it's just like a bunch of little balls all bunched up together, and that's what they call rough ice. I guess that's what the air bubbles, like hard to walk on. And when it's too flat, it's also hard to walk on. Last couple years have been really hard on the young seals because ice didn't come right away, and in the spring it takes too long to go. I just asked him what type of seal he hunt more of. Does he hunt more of our regular harp seals or does he hunt more of the bearded seal? For him nowadays, he only mostly hunt young seals because they're light and it's hard on his joints now for things that are too heavy. He does not hunt other adult seals as much as the young seals anymore, because when he is alone, he has a hard time trying to put a seal into his boat now. So he has to take someone with him at all times, and that is why he mostly hunts young seal. When we're getting everything for us starts getting harder and harder and harder to do. That's what I just said. Why do you get more seals than you get bearded seals? Like, why do you get herb seals more than you get bearded seals? The only time they get their bearded seal is for some food, as well as using them for the soles of our shoes. That is why we get our bearded seals. But in the fall time, I don't know if you call it herds or packs or what, 60 to 80 seals, like a big bunch of seals. And they call that a mehwari, with like a bunch of seals. And in this, like September time comes, they start heading south from the north. I was just encouraging him for the way he uses the words, because I had him using a little bit of the old style translations or old time, old ways of saying words, whereas today a lot of our words are mixed, and that's why I was really glad that he had done this whole thing practically without mixing up the words with English, and that's why I was thanking him.
Sleeping words.
Yeah.
My big brother.
Hey, awesome. Yeah, Kwano, for your time.